What's goody, y'all? Girl, can you leave my feet alone? My fault, y'all. My mama got a new cat. Well, technically, I got a new cat now because she don't ever be with my mama. She only be with me. That's neither here nor there. What's goody, y'all? My name is Eli Blacide. Once again, we are here for Hood Translations of the Bible. Stop biting my feet. Stop. We are here for Hood Translations of the Bible. This video, we are only going to hop into Genesis chapter 10, which of course is the last chapter about Noah, because afterwards we are going to... I'm going to talk about this great individual, Mr. Yates, who I love. So I'm going to, of course, introduce y'all to him and the story about him as we hop into also a different perspective about the story of Noah. So, as y'all remember before, I had already proven to y'all, look, and I gotta say prove it because I told y'all about it, but that like the original population wasn't just only Adam and Eve. So it wasn't just their requirements to populate the entire earth. There were other individuals. But then, of course, when you get into the story of Noah, and there was supposed to be a worldwide flood, then once again, you get back into the, the thought process of, all right, it was Noah and his family that repopulate the earth, which I don't have full proof. Maybe we might get into it through the Bible. We might not. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody texted me. Anyhow, we might not. But I will also propose different aspects, different ideologies and whatnot. But again, any debates or any full discussions we'll get into after the entire end of the Bible series. So without further ado, my fault, I thought I wasn't recording. Without further ado, let's hop into it. Genesis chapter 10. This chapter's subtitle is Noah's Descendants. So, let's begin. Genesis chapter 10, verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. Verse 2. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog. I think that's right. Can you leave me alone? Anyhow, verse 2. Sorry, let me start over. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog. And Madai, and Javan. And Tibal, and Meshech, and Tiras. Y'all know them biblical names. Stop playing with me. Verse 3. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath. Can you leave my feet alone? And Togarmah. This how we gonna do it. If I sit crisscross applesauce, you ain't got nothing. Verse 4. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, and Kitram, and Godam. I'm so sorry, y'all. Y'all just gonna have to bear with me, because I promise y'all, I ain't a dummy, but these words, like I said, when you gotta slow down. Anyhow, verse 5. By these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided into their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations. Verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Rama, and Sabata, and the sons of Rama, Sheba, and Dedan. Verse 8. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. Verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad. Sorry, we gonna get it, y'all. And Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Verse 11. Out of that land went forth Ashur and builded Nineveh, and the city of Rehoboth and Calah. Verse 12. And Resen between Nineveh and Calah, the same in the great city. 13. And Mizraim begat Ludim, and Aram, Jesus, and Lahabam, and Naphatuhim, and Pathrusam, and Kashrushim, out of whom came Philistim, and Capturim. Verse 15, and Canaan begat Sidom, his firstborn, and Heath. 16, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Gigasite, and the Hivite, and the Akite, and the Sinite. Verse 18, and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Himorite, and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar, unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah and Zeboam, even unto Lasha. Verse 20. These are the sons of Ham, after the families, after their tongues, and their countries, and in their nations. And unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brothers of Japheth, the elder, even in him were children born. Even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. Verse 23. And the children of Aram, Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. Verse 24. And the Arphaxad begat Selah, and Selah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan begat Almadad, and Shepheleth, and Hazar, and Yeth, and Jorar. Verse 27. And Hadaram, and Uzel, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abimel, and Sheba. Verse 29. And Oshir, and Havilah, and Jobab. And all these were the sons of Joktan, yes. Verse 30. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as you goest unto Sephar, a mount of the east. Verse 31. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in the lands of their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, after the generations in the nations. And by these were the nations divided into the earth after the flood. So boom. That is chapter 10, which, as I told y'all previously, like when we were discussing the generations of Adam, Cain, Abel, all them people and whatnot, that was basically just giving you the generations. And of course, later on, I know the land of Canaan and the Canaanites, they play crucial parts, or they have another presence in the story later on. Not even in the story, in the book later on. My fault. Let me get my terminology correct. But all those generations, I don't feel like we're going to talk about again. Of course, they are relevant to the sense of understanding the people in which God protected, who God covered, God was watching after. But once again, I don't feel like they're important in the sense they're going to come back up. But I could be wrong. Now, as we get into it, now, we're going to first talk about Mr. Yates. Now, Mr. Yates was my AP World History teacher. And first and foremost, baby, yes, I passed that test, baby. I got them credits. That's neither here nor there. AP World History was a very eye-opening class for me, because as much as people be like, oh, it's just history and this not, if you actually sit and delve into the ideology of different cultures, as well as the movements, the decisions of different cultures, how they got along, as well as how they didn't get along, and some of their savageries, things like that, the expanse is literally unfathomable. But regardless, it was a eye-opening class, not only for that, but for the simple fact of who was teaching me. Well, now, Mr. Yates, which I know this is going to already ruffle some feathers, Mr. Yates was an atheist, which I know, especially a lot of people who are Christian or who follow some type of religion, they'll already try and bash atheists, or even they'll be like, why are you trying to learn so much? When I tell you, Mr. Yates is one of the most highly regarded people I ever taken to as a believer. Because first and foremost, how I tell everybody, what does your lack of belief have to do with me? And that's what we can really start right there. I feel like y'all have to understand, if God is truly the individual we hype him to be, which, like I said, for me, I know who he is. So there's no need for me to defend him. That he is who he is. He could really wrap all this up in an instant. So regardless of that sense, I don't ever argue with nobody. There's been multiple people I've come in contact with. Oh, I'm not a believer. I'm an atheist. I'm doing this and a third. Like I said, even as much as some people just have that belief and they'll still be good people, this, that, and the third, which Mr. Yates, lovely individual. I love that man. I'll talk to that man for days upon hours. Regardless of the simple fact. And then like I said, we're going to get into that in a minute. But also too, like I said, there should be no reason. If the only directive was to love your neighbor, there is no reason for me to try and not talk to you because you're atheist. For me not to commune with you because you are atheist. Like, at the end of the day, I know what he did for me, so I'm going to still believe in him. And if you ask me a question that has to delve into that story, that's what I'm going to go to too. I don't go back and forth with nobody. Like, even what? I guess the term, so like me and my godson, we will debate and understand, as much as we have colloquially, I guess, sort of shunned the word debate to try and just have a alternative to an argument. An argument doesn't really have no basis of facts. An argument is literally like, I'm just trying to win. I am trying to get you to see where I'm coming from. A debate literally pulls up points, pulls up perspectives. Like, even, I know sometimes they'll emphasize, be like, I hear you, but in contrast and things like that. But that's literally what me and my godson will do. We'll debate even just things about the Bible and whatnot. And as much as, if we can't fully come to a conclusion because we don't have that evidence or whatnot, that's still not the issue. Because at the end of the day, I'm still going to believe in God. He's still going to believe in God, how he's going to do it. But at the end of the day, you also know some of the things they've been teaching you, some of the things they've been telling you, some of the things they have tried and misconstrued to you isn't all that is actually correct. And so that was a large part of I keep trying to call that man Dr. Mr. Yates as well. I'll never forget, he was talking about, one, he said, like, within the Bible, everyone, of course, knows he rose Lazarus from the dead. But if I'm remembering the story correctly, Mr. Yates, if I'm not, I'm so sorry. But I remember he said there was actually two people he rose, because he had also rose another girl from the dead. But like I said, I had to get to that part in the Bible and whatnot. But that was one. But then also in regards to the story of Noah, he brought about the story, the Epic of Gilgamesh. And the Epic of Gilgamesh literally has a similar story to Noah, but however, it's from the, I believe, Babylonian Sumerian period. So it predates Genesis. And the thing is, not even just to stop there, there are actually multiple flood stories from different civilizations that occur. There is even another one, which if we have the time, I'll hop on the phone. There's another one from the Sumerian period as well, but it's from another empire. It wasn't the Babylonian Empire. But regardless, that still has a similar story as well. And as much as I have not divulged into those stories, they of course give me... I haven't divulged in the stories to either knock them or to like promote them or whatnot, but they give me ideology to simply believing the flood happened in a certain specific area. And of course, because if that's all you know, that is the world to you. That is the entire world. But what it's giving me, if there are multiple versions of this story, somebody else had to witness it. So maybe this one area was flooded, and this one, area whatnot. But then also, if you recall, most of the Western Hemisphere was not discovered, explored, thought about until the late 1600s, mid to late 1600s, if I remember my yearlings correctly and things like that. But so the whole world was this small expanse of what the world we recognize now. And that's not even to get into, of course, Pangea and things like that. But regardless, so of course, when they are telling this story, or when they are writing this story, or sharing the story in different perspectives, the entire world was this small encasement. But of course, if you are on the outsides of that encasements, on those borders and whatnot, you have people that, okay, I'm kind of recognizing it's kind of getting bad here. Let me move away. Let's go somewhere else where it's not as flooded. And of course, if you are only staying direct in a specific area to flood and wash anew, then those people, of course, aren't in that and whatnot. But like I said, I don't have proof of that or whatnot, but it also gives me reverence, because to repopulate the entire earth, because what was the point? Even if his families, they all had kids and whatnot. But then who are you going to go to after that? They only had, especially within the generations that we were talking about, it only spoke about the sons. So did they have daughters? Most likely. But I'm hoping y'all wasn't just repopulating with the same people that you are siblings with and whatnot. Even though I know that's big in the Bible and whatnot. That's neither here nor there. So I'm feeling like it did happen, but it happened more in a smaller case of area. They were all bound in this area already, so it was easy. But then there were people, of course, always people who was going to explore outwardly. Do I have proof of that? Not 100%. Like I said, we'll get to that at the end of the story and come back to this. Of course, I wrote it down and whatnot. But I also just want to give that into reference to, once again, talk about Mr. Yates. I loved me some Mr. Yates, baby. And now Mr. Yates not only was my AP coach, he ended up being my academic decathlon coach. And one of the greatest things, which as much as Mr. Yates didn't know, I wish I could have gave him more. I'll never forget, Mr. Yates told me one thing one time that has changed my life, and still to this day governs my life. He said, there is literally no in between you. There is either you do exceptionally bad or you do exceptionally well. And that is something I have come to know about myself. Like, if I'm going to do anything, I make sure I put in the pre-work to make sure I excel, because there's no point. Because if I don't excel, there is no, oh, I just barely made it. If I'm not excelling, I won't be. There is no middle ground. Like, I'm either on one end of the spectrum. And so that is something I remember him telling me, and it really just changed my life. And as much as I could not give him everything just because of everything I was dealing with in high school, one aspect about like ACDEC, we had to have interpersonals. Like, we essentially had to have interviews and speeches. And baby, I'll never forget, baby, as y'all could see, I could do an interpersonal down, baby. I loves a personal, baby. That's my superpower with anybody I meet, whether it's an interview or anything. Once you meet me in person, baby, it's go time. And I'll never forget, we had to like dress up and whatnot. But of course, everything I was already dealing with, I didn't really have any suits. I was using a choir suit because I was in choir, baby. Kept them vocals, baby. I would use a choir suit every time. And he was like, we're going to get you an actual suit. When I tell you, this man literally took me I think it was International Suit Warehouse. And he ended up spending like $400. I'm pretty sure. I remember we walked in there and the person, the lady was just like, "Oh, this is the size you are, this, that, and third." And by dead ass, she was correct. We only had to put on one suit. I picked out the color and everything. It was calm. But I'll never forget, Mr. Yates spent like $400 on that suit. And when I tell you, I gave it to Mr. Yates. Every speech, every interview after that, baby, I was topping. I was getting hundreds. I'll never forget. We was competing with one of our old coaches who had moved away and started a new team. And we was just like doing like a friendly competition. And I had came out after I gave my speech and whatnot. And he had went in, I guess, to get the results or something. And all the people was just crying. And he was like, "Who just came out of there? Like, what did you do?" I said, we just had to hype it up. Because I dad got 100 on that one. But like I said, I will forever love me some Mr. Yates. And like I said, as much as I have to emphasize it, not really emphasize it that it changed who he is or as an individual, but how I know people are going to judge him because he was atheist and whatnot, or I believe he still is and whatnot. That is not a factor for me. Like I said, not even in the sense to disrespect him, but that man was too smart. That man has his reasons, and his reasons are his reasons, but that man was an intellectual. The only time he would even debate people about religion or whatnot, and he would the only time he would even research, he told us, he was like, if he's pulling up to a Jesuit, them Jesuits had it, he would have to actually research. But outside of that, that man was an amazing individual. To this day, I hope he's still doing well. He ended up moving away, and I think him and his daughter, not his daughter, his wife, I'm so sorry, him and his wife moved away, and they live in a little, they don't live in the suburbs, but I feel like they live like close to the suburbs. They not in the country, but like they kind of ducked off, whatnot. Regardless of the sense, I love me some Mr. Yates. And that's how also I feel like a lot of us block our blessings. Because I truly 100% believe God put Mr. Yates in my life for a purpose. Not even just for my own personal growth, but for growth within not only God, within multiple aspects of life. And I believe we block our blessings having preconceived notions or preconceived ideologies, and therefore we won't get close to people. We'll cut people off before we even get to know them. And as much as, like, I know a lot of people think, oh, atheists are, like, they're bashing or things like that. A lot of atheists actually don't. They just be like, I don't believe. And then they go about their day. But then you'll get people who are, of course, religious or are believers, and they want to argue with them. And, of course, anybody who feels defensive is going to have a change in demeanor and whatnot. Because now they are being attacked. Now they are judged. Which, at the end of the day, too, which I'll say with all religions, who are you to judge? With anybody in religions, at the end of the day, it was always God's perspective to judge. Anything they are dealing with, they will have to answer to him. There's no reason for you to be into that. There's no reason for you to be arguing with somebody. There's no reason for you to be defending God, because God, once again, is who he is. If we are all destined to meet him at some point, that's what they gonna have to deal with. Because at the end of the day, I'm only defending myself when I'm trying to get into the gates. Like, I can't defend nobody else. I can't speak on nobody else. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like I said, smart man, love me some Mr. Yates. To this day, I'm actually finna text him right now. I'm definitely finna text that man right now, see what he doing. Love me some Mr. Yates. I hope he doing well. I hope to actually see that man one time again. But that is essentially my ideology on what happened or how to repopulate the earth after Noah and whatnot. I feel like it wasn't the actual entire earth, because there are multiple versions of the story that also not only predate this book, but then there's some that comes after. And so, of course, it's hard. But also, too, if you recall, Christianity, once again, was started in Africa. So maybe when I hop into the Ethiopian version of the Bible, we'll get something different. But for right now, that is the basis and stance of knowledge in which I try and stand on. Not even stand on, just that's how I'm going about it. Because I feel like, it would have been 6, because he had 3 sons, they each had wives. It'd been about 6 people repopulating the entire earth. And that's crazy in my head. But hey, if that's what was going down, that was going down. Wasn't nothing else to do. So all you really could do was make babies. Hey, I ain't mad at you. So yeah, that is Genesis chapter 10. Oh, I also figured out, y'all. Boom. So I figured out somebody actually be people to be. So what? I was talking to my older brother and whatnot, and I was texting him, messaging him, and he was like, "Yo, so what happened to your video? Or like, when's the next video?" And I was like, "Oh, you was watching?" He was like, "Yeah, of course." And then I was just like explaining to him because I did upload chapter 8 and 9 when I had expected it to. I had not fully got like busy or whatnot, but I had got busy. Also high functioning depression, things like that. So I had made the videos, but then I did not post them. And I was like, yeah, I'm like technically a week behind, but I'm going to post both of them this week when I post this video. And he was like, 2 videos behind is nothing like to worry about, quality over quantity, things like that. But I really just was like hyped because as much as my brother, he not obligated to support me and whatnot. He was constantly watching my stuff and whatnot, and expecting like a new video and whatnot. So that also gives me like just hopes and whatnot. I'm like, I'm gonna just keep on posting, and then eventually, like I said, the people gonna come when they come. And that's also to any other content creators, anything you doing out there, baby, just keep posting, keep promoting, keep posting. It don't matter. As much as they say, oh, 1 view is nothing, baby, sometimes if one person is beating you up, that's all is needed. You ain't gotta be scared to get your ass beat. That's the first thing I learned in college. But at the same time, it don't take too many to get your ass beat either. Like, you could just get one individual and that's it. So even if you just got one person watching, baby, keep it going. Love y'all, bless y'all. Make sure y'all like, follow, subscribe, all of that goodness. We gonna come back, of course, next week into Genesis. We're going to start with Genesis 11. Where we go is where we go. It's always a pleasure. Catch y'all next week.